Hey YouTube, it's Matt with Olympus Reptiles, and today we're going to talk about breeding. And we're going to talk about, well, what does it really cost to start breeding? First of all, before we talk about the cost of starting breeding, what's the point of breeding? Well, that's really simple, I think. You know, to me it is. The point to breeding is going to be, I already showed you off recently, making things like this. And making things like this. This is just so Kurt can get a thumbnail, by the way. You know, I got to get some snakes in there. So why do you breed? You breed because you want to make babies, right? Neither one of you should bite me right now. You also breed because you want to make, well, depending on what kind of breeder you are, like we talked about, money. Now, is that one and the same thing? Well, yeah, it kind of is. I mean, this has an inherent monetary value, and so does this. So there is a money value there. In case you wonder what you're looking at a pastel axanthic here. That is also possible het albino, 50% chance on that. And you're also looking at a banana mahogany. That's what we're looking at, in case anybody was wondering. So, how do we get there? There's a couple different ways. First of all, unless you're really lucky, it ain't going to be free. Let me put these guys up, and I will explain. It's not going to be free. Let's get that out of there right away. And somebody's going to comment on here and tell me about their brother's uncle's cousin who was married to their other cousin who found 15 ball pythons when they were doing something and then produced a bunch, and it was free for them, by God. And I'm sure that guy exists, but for 99.99999% of you, it is not going to be free. So let's get that out of the way right now. Breeding ball pythons is going to cost you some money to start. Plain and simple. So let's talk about two different things. We're going to talk about a small investment, and we're going to talk about a large investment. Now, those two things can mean different things to different people. Small investment versus a large investment. Are there advantages? Yeah, let's put this away first, because I know it's been said that if you don't have a large chunk of money, you can't do ball pythons. I didn't say that. But it's been said, I believe the quote was, if you don't have at least, you know, like $50,000 to $75,000 to start, you just shouldn't start. Well, that's bullshit, and I'll explain why in a minute. But does that mean you can't start with a large amount of money? You sure can. But let's talk about some advantages and disadvantages, because everything has an advantage and a disadvantage. So let's go with here for the advantages first. Is there some advantages to starting with a large amount of money? Hell yeah, there is. One, you're going to be able to reach a larger number of animals, which was larger production, faster, right? Right? No doubt about it. If you can invest more money, you have a chance to do this as long as you don't screw it up. You can get to larger production faster. You also have the ability to reach, you know, more, we'll say high-end, that's what you want to call it, projects faster, right? Bam, you can do that. That's really your two big advantages. These are the two things that you get for investing a shit ton of money. Now, a shit ton of money, I'm not going to put a label on how much money that is, because truth is, you know, what may be a shit ton to one person and what they want to get on a return may be totally different than a shit ton to another person. So whatever you consider a shit ton of money, that's what this is. I'll put some labels on this one because this is more my life. And I'll explain why I chose this over this, because I did. I chose this. There's a reason, though. It's not going to be the reason that, you know, we'll cover it. Disadvantages. There is some disadvantages. One, there is more risk. And you may be saying, well, Matt, how is there more risk? You just told me I can make, you know, more animals quicker and I can have more high-end projects faster. How is there more risk? Well, if you lay out a bunch of these dollar signs, that money's at risk. Anytime you're investing money, and if you ever come across somebody who's selling you snakes, right, and you know, they're telling you that, hey, you know, you can breed snakes and you're going to make a shit ton of money and there's no risk. There's no risk at all. You're going to be rich, man. It's going to be great, blah, 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 blah. Just follow me, follow along and watch how you do it. You should probably tuck your tail and run. I want you to think, too, if you wonder why I say that, I'm not telling you you can't do it. You can. You can. You 100% can. What I'm telling you is there's no guarantees in life. It sounds a lot like when you watch the guy doing ShamWow, right? ShamWow, greatest thing ever. And it's a piece of shit when you get it. I mean, well, maybe not. I never bought a ShamWow. Maybe it is great. I don't know. But it also sounds like those schemes, pyramid schemes they used to do, where you're going to make so much money if you just sell our product and you do this and you'll make a lot of money. Look at that guy. He made a lot of money. You can do it too. All we need is you to write a big fat check. Some people are going to make money. Some people aren't. So there is more risk. You're risking more of your dollars. More risk. I guess you could say faster reward. I mean, I should put that there because more risk does equal the possibility of more reward, at least faster rewards. So there's more risk. That is honestly, guys, this is the big disadvantage. There's not a whole lot of other disadvantages here. One thing I will tell you in that then is if you choose to invest a lot of money into this, that's okay. I'm not telling you not to. Only invest the money you're willing to lose. I would tell you that with any business. If you're investing at a point into any business, that if it goes downhill, right? If it fails, you can't eat. I'm not saying don't invest, money that won't hurt. It may hurt you physically or emotionally to lose that much, but you've got to be willing to lose it. Otherwise, you shouldn't invest it. It's like a slot machine. Now, I'm about to spit on Kurt there. Granted, this slot machine has a lot better chance of paying out than the one at the casino you go to either in Native American land or your state if it allows it, or Las Vegas. I've gone to all three of those. This has a lot higher chance than paying out of that slot machine. You're more likely to lose money on the slot machine, but the comparison is still there. It is a risk. It is a gamble. Every investment, every business is a risk or gamble. Plain and simple. Don't invest money that you're not willing to lose. Okay? Even if your chances are 80% chance you won't, there's a 20% chance you will. It could be anything. I mean, you could buy a bunch of snakes. Maybe the guy you bought from was not very honest, and all of a sudden there's a disease running through there and it kills them all. Guess what happened? You just lost your money, right? Or a big, big portion of it. You could buy a bunch of snakes. You could have an outbreak of something, wipe it through. Don't think it can happen. Rodent Pro back in the day had an outbreak, and they were selling off rats, and it killed a bunch of animals. You can look it up, man. They got it cleaned up now. I'm not knocking them as a company. I'm just telling you that happened. I bought from Rodent Pro after that quite a bit, but it was there. So you have those things happen. There was the big scare with IBD, years ago, still a real thing. There was a big scare with the other disease whose name I can't think of it just recently. It is a real thing. Wiped out collections. More risk, okay? More risk. So don't risk what you can't afford to lose. I'll get back to that later. So let's talk about low risk. What are the advantages? Well, there are some. We'll go advantages. I kind of did that weird. Disadvantages. The advantage is there's a lot less risk, okay? There's a lot less risk here, guys. If you're investing a little bit of money, this is money that I could afford to lose, okay? For me, I'm not going to worry about it. And like I say, too, if I'm a millionaire, I could probably invest $150,000 and not give a shit if it goes south. I mean, I'd care, but I really wouldn't. I'm not a millionaire, so I wasn't going to be able to do that. The disadvantage is it takes longer, right? It takes longer. It absolutely does. You're going to have to be your own best customer. I'll explain that too, because I don't think you all necessarily are here. You're not going to necessarily be your own best customer for a while. Less risk, chance to learn. Also, I'm going to say there's a chance to be a hobby. I do think that's an advantage in a lot of ways, man, and I'll explain why as well. Because there is an advantage to that. There is. And people are going, what do you mean? And somebody's going to say, well, that's not a profit-minded thing, and it absolutely is a profit-minded thing. And I will explain. That's your disadvantage. It takes longer, your own best customer, longer to reach. Man, my handwriting sucks. Especially when my brain's going. I try to miss letters, because my brain moves faster than my hand does. It's been a problem my entire... Longer to reach high-end projects. Because I'm like ADD brain, I swear. Keep my pen working there. So that's some of the disadvantages to a little bit of money. So, first of all, let me talk about why I say these are advantages here. So I kind of covered the advantages and disadvantages here. There's a lot less risk. That's pretty self-evident. If your investment total, and my investment total, well, I'll do mine and Kurt's together. We estimate, we didn't keep very good records at it back in the day. I mean, we were new. It was probably our total out-of-pocket investment across the board probably totals right around $10,000. I would be surprised if it's over that. And that is us buying our initial equipment, us buying our initial snakes, us buying rats before, they started paying for their own thing. That was what we took out of our pocket. Now, is that a big risk? Well, $5,000 to Kurt at the time, being fairly freshly single, was a lot of money. $5,000 to me at the time, also being fairly recently single and having bills and things like that we have to pay, was a lot of money at the time. Now it didn't come out like, hey Kurt, I need $5,000. Here's my $5,000. Let's go do this. This came slowly over time. So neither one of us felt that money as much because you're buying something here, you're buying something there. It was much easier to do for me to get started. But that was probably, would you agree, Kurt, that's probably our initial investment, about $10,000?
Yep.
So about $10,000. Have we put $10,000 in your pocket since then?
Yep.
Mine too. So we've had that return. But there's definitely less risk. If we'd have lost that money, yeah, that would have sucked, but it wouldn't have been life altering. I wouldn't have been trying to figure out how I'm going to eat. I wouldn't have lost my house. My car wouldn't have been getting repoed. I wouldn't have been homeless living in a ditch, to quote South Park, giving hand jobs for crack or anything like that. That wouldn't have been a thing. I wouldn't have been doing that anyway. That's disgusting. Thanks, South Park. But there was no issue there. Maybe I should call it Park South so I don't get sued like Kanye. Anyway, here, I guess it wasn't Kanye. Who was it? We got their music in the background one time. Usher. It was Usher. He wanted 2 cents. Still blows my mind. Chance to learn. What I mean here is if you jump in whole hog and you buy some high-end collection and you're producing right away, there is I think, more chance for you to screw it up. And what I mean by screw it up is, miss sex snakes more often, misidentify genes more often, make those errors, have a heating error, have a problem with how you set things up that kills everything, whatever it may be, because there's a chance to learn. And I learned that the hard way. I killed my first clutch. We've talked that story 1,000 times. I'll tell it again if anybody's interested. This gives you a chance to learn while your investment's low before your investment's high. It hurts a lot more here to miss a year than it does when you first start out. So you get a chance to learn. Chance to be a hobby. Why is that advantageous? Because no matter what you're producing, you're going to have hobbyists be your customers, whether they're people who want to get into breeding, whether they're people who are buying, because even if you're trying to produce high-end stuff, which everybody gets to a certain extent, we always talk about having production at levels. You're going to have that most of the time, whether you mean to or not. Like, it's probably going to be there unless certain things are happening. And then even if you're breeding, because someone's going to say, well, I'm going to breed super asphalt, make nothing but super asphalt, and I'll only have high-end stuff. Yep, you will for about 4 or 5 years until those become not as high-end anymore, and there they are. If you don't believe that'll happen, okay, I'm not going to try to convince you. Everything as it becomes more common, the value comes down. You can look back at the history of the snake market. It's all there. It's all there. It's all there from the days of $10,000 albinos, okay? $10,000, $50,000 bananas. I'm not even going to get to what the scale was going for when it first came out. Things come down as more people do them. If there's 2 people right now who are producing 40 super asphalts a year, and that's it, each, there's 80 super asphalts hitting the market, okay, they're going to hold value. If there's 3,000 of them hitting the market, supply and demand, folks. So, you're going to have those tiers. If you have a chance to be a hobby first, when that hobbyist is your customer, guess what? You understand them. You don't have to fake it. Man, you understand the excitement. You understand what they're going through. You understand what they're trying to do. You understand the level that they're at. You understand your customer more. It's going to make you a better salesman, in my humble opinion, especially if you're selling at things like a show. Online, it's a picture. You don't have to do a lot of salesmanship. If you're at a show and you're doing those things, you're going to have to. So that chance to be a hobby, that chance to understand your customer, it's really important. I want you to think about it like this. When you work somewhere, do you want a boss that knows how to do your job, that did your job one time? Or do you want a boss that has no clue what the hell you do, but he's going to tell you how to do it? I'm sure we've all had both. Nobody likes a guy that tries to tell you how to do a job he doesn't know how to do. Same thing when this guy's selling to you. If he's been a hobbyist, he knows where you're at, he can talk that and feel that, have that empathy is going to make them a better salesman. That's the advantages. So why did we go here and not here? Because I'll be honest, we didn't have that option. And there's going to be a lot of you watching today that also don't have this option. There's going to be some of you watching today who are going to go out and get some kind of personal loan or put a third mortgage on your house or whatever it is you do and try to take this and do it all 100%. And God love you. If you do that, man, I hope it works out for you. I really, truly do. But again, accept that risk. You got to accept it. It's like anything. You got to accept that risk. We didn't take on any debt until we were pretty well established. And the only debt we took on, there's more value to it than there is debt. And I'm not even counting the animals. I'm talking about the building I stand in, that the what we owe on it versus its quick sale market value is less than half. Like we would from the day we bought it and from what we were down on it, we could double our money. So like there was a reason why we did that. So anywho, with us, we didn't have any debt. If it failed, we weren't out anything. Like I say, we weren't losing our house. That's why we went here. And on top of that, we didn't have extra cash laying around to just go in and invest. If I had, $200,000 in the bank, and I said, you know what, I want to invest $100,000, and this is what I want to invest it in. Man, you do you. That's awesome. One, awesome for you to have that much sitting around. I don't know how you got it. Maybe you worked, maybe you saved, maybe somebody died. I don't know. I don't care. If that's what you choose to put in, that's great. Your risk isn't as high as the guy with the second mortgage on his house. So that's my whole thing. When I talk about only spend or only invest what you can afford to lose. If you're unsure and you want to invest a bunch of money, I would really recommend going down and sitting with a guy who does finances and can talk to you about your finances, and you can discover your risk tolerance with them when they can talk that language way better than I can. That is a real smart thing to do if you're looking at a large investment on something as volatile as what we do. Here, we didn't need to do that. Now, could we be miles ahead had we invested, say, $100,000 instead of $10,000, or $200,000 instead of $10,000 early on? Yeah, we would. We absolutely would. We would have been able to buy some super high-end stuff, and everything else. But here's the question I want to pose to you. And that is, because it's been said, you can't do it on a low investment. I've heard it said many times. Here we are. And you're going to say, well, yeah, but you're still doing this or that. I am, by choice. Could I have gone at some point and then reinvest and done a whole large investment? I could, because the collateral's here now. We haven't done that. There's several reasons why. Number two, though, is when you look at the spreadsheet, which I'm not going to open my spreadsheet for you all. Not going to do it. Plus, it's not here. It's at the other house right now. I can tell you that $10,000 in today, if we just parted out in a fire sale, we would walk out each with significantly more than the $10,000 we put in. Significantly more. Like we each put in $5,000 really. So if you look at our personal investment, $5,000 for me, $5,000 in Kurt, have we grown that investment by five times? Yeah. Have we grown it by 10? Oh yeah. Have we grown it by? Yes. Yes, we have. Have we put that money also back in our pocket plus some? Yes. As a matter of fact, that's, again, I'm not going to get into all the finance because that's a touchy subject. But the point I want to make is if somebody tells you you can't do it this way, and this is a way like you're in my shoes, where I was at 6-7 years ago when I first decided I was going to do this, and really 5 years ago when I got real serious about it, or I guess 6 years ago when I got real serious about it, produced clutch number 1 6 years ago, and somebody's like, oh, you can't do it with a low investment, fuck them. Yes, you can. And if you need some motivation, man, come talk to us. You can come talk to us through here. We'll respond to comments. You can join our Patreon, find some like-minded people. You can absolutely do it. You can absolutely do it. I promise you. It's a lot of work. And again, you're still risk. I didn't say no risk, did I? I said less risk. You can still lose this. You're going to do it quicker if you do this. Absolutely, you will. But you better have this that you can safely lose. If you're not willing to part with it, you're not willing to lose it, don't do it. That would be my thing. If you can, go for it. Kurt, anything that you would like to add? One more I'm going to write down.
I think some people do this too as a family, like they try to get their kids involved, which I think is good.
So yeah, that would say, as a family, that would be more, you could do that either way. Most people who are doing it as a family, though, are probably a breeder who's maybe a hobby breeder. Piece of shit pen. Hold on. Technical difficulties. Maybe a hobby breeder, or a for-profit, but not a very big for-profit. I would say the guy who's investing this much wanting to do it is, if you're doing that, likely you're going to be a major for-profit, like, definitely for-profit or big business. You're going to want employees, et cetera, et cetera. I guess I should put another S in there, but oh well. It's not a spelling test. So yes, but if you're going to do it as a family, you probably want to do pretty low investment. Kurt, you've got kids now, right?
Yep.
A good smattering of them. You've spread your seed far and wide. With that, how often do kids get interested in something, and then 3 months later, they're not?
Every week.
Every week. So if you do this, thinking, oh man, my kids, well, then you might be disappointed. Probably do this with kids. And you may have the kid that stays with it, man. Maybe you start this and the kid stays with it and you're like, look, he's really into this, or she, and we're doing these things, and then you want to invest more, you always can. One thing I would recommend to everybody, hands down, and again, I'm not against this. People say, oh, you don't believe it. I'm not against this. I teach more from this because it's my reality. I'm going to teach my reality. I'm not going to teach what wasn't my reality because I don't know what that was like, right? I can only speculate. I can tell you exactly what this is like. One thing I would say is, if you have no experience and you want to get into this, I would say do this, okay? At least for a small amount of time. Get your feet wet. Make sure it's what you want to do. Make sure it's what you like. And then if it is, and you've got the money and you want to go whole hog and bam, do it. Man, do it. It's cool. Do it if you can. But that way you at least know before you make that investment, is this what I really want to do? And you have some experience on what it entails. That is something else I would tell you, but that's kind of anything. You kind of touch the tires on any career or job a lot of times before you jump in. At least I would do that. I also put stress on here. If you're doing a large amount of money, I think you could have more stress in it. And what I mean by that is, especially if you're a person that doesn't have the large amount, say, in the bank that you're willing to part with, and you're going to have to take a loan, where you have to make payments, you have to do all this and do all that on it, then you have to answer a bell. Like, I know now, we started here, but with this place, I have to have so much money come in to pay the bills on this facility. It ain't run out of a room in my house. I have to be able to pay the bills in this facility. That added a lot more stress and pressure. Why? I don't know. It's never even been tight or close. We've never had a month where, like, gee whiz, how the hell are we going to do this? Never happened, but it still adds a stress knowing that I have to do that because there are others relying on me, whether it's my investors or investor. I guess I shouldn't use a plural term. We only used one because we didn't want to keep this through a traditional bank or anything. Or whether it's Kurt, whether it's my wife, whatever it may be, to not lose the investment that we've gained or the monetary value we've gained by doing this. So yeah, that adds more stress. Anything else you can think of to add, Kurt?
No.
So in closing, I guess what I would say then is both these work. You got to decide what fits you. There's advantages and disadvantages. Quicker, more efficient in getting you where you want to be. If you want to be a big business, absolutely 100%. There's more risk. Less risk, but a hell of a lot slower. How much time do you got? I would tell you right now, we're kind of at that precipice of, that's not a big word, it's a fun word right there. We're at that precipice of where we would be, I think, had we had a lot of money to invest. Had I had a lot of money to invest right away, I would probably be setting at something like this right now. A whole bunch of stuff I'm waiting on to grow up, a good number of things producing, and on the verge, where we've made some really high-end stuff, on the verge of making some really, really high-end stuff, but also making all the levels I talk about. So basically, I could have skipped probably 6 or 8 years, maybe 10 years, had I had that large investment to put down. I didn't. I didn't have that large investment, so we didn't do that. But we still got there. We got there through work. We got there through busting our ass. We got there through learning. And if I can do it, trust me, you can. And if anybody says you have to have a large chunk of money or just don't get in, this isn't for you, man, remember that, stick it back there for motivation, and then later ram it right up their ass because they deserve that for telling you that. Anyway, anything you want to add?
No.
All right, guys, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.